Yes. I also believe a part of the solution is also awareness. How do we get aware about all of this? And I want to ask everybody here, because all of you are distinguished members in your field. For someone who's listening to this out there, how do we make them aware of stuff like this, like the knowledge that you have, with something like this? What do we read to? Oh, sorry about that. What do we read? What do we watch? I also want to come to you, all of you also as well, in terms of the kind of media you consume, because I feel ultimately we are an amalgamation of the media that we consume, So if you had to give us, say, a few Netflix recommendations or some recommendations of things we can watch, creators we can follow, because today, a large amount of our thought process is influenced by influencers or content creators, and some of them are great with what they say. So, do you have any recommendations on the whole? Through mainstream media, art, journalism, anyone that we can follow? What are your recommendations to get ourselves a little more aware?
My small suggestion to everybody in this room is that the unlearning process, okay, so you have unlearning and then you have relearning, right? Before the unlearning starts, there is something called as critical thinking, right? What we severely lack as Indians is critical thinking. But why do we lack critical thinking? Is because we lack curiosity. We are not a curious population at all. It's a very sad story. We are not curious, and therefore we are not critical. If we are curious, we can ask all the right questions instead of accepting whatever is at face value or whatever is presented to us and the way it is presented to us. It's only when we're curious is when we are going to sort of question as to why is this written this way, or why is this represented this way, or why does a Dalit person look like a beggar on the screen in a Bollywood film? Why does the Dalit person not look like a coat, suit, tie with a book in his hand, right? So before all of the unlearning and the relearning and the awareness and all of it, I think what's very crucial here is that we learn to be curious. We learn to be curious about whatever is in front of us. We learn to begin to be curious about ourselves. Where do we stand in life? What are the privileges that we have? Where do I come from? What is my caste location? What is my gender location? What is my sexuality? What is my financial position? What are the privileges that come along with having had birth in a particular family or in a particular race or in a particular caste? These are questions that we need to ask. And in any field, in any situation, what happens usually is that marginalized communities center either caste and or gender, or sexuality. For us, that is our center. That, and everything is around that. For me, caste and gender is at the center, right? Everything else, how capitalism functions, how politics happens in this country, how education functions, how the media functions, all of this is centered around that particular aspect. However, this centering of caste does not happen just like that. Because if you've not been forced by the world to look from that gaze, you will not look at it. Because privilege allows you to decenter caste. Privilege allows you to decenter race. privilege allows you to decenter gender and sexuality because you are in the heteronormative upper caste, upper class bubble, right? These things are not the center of your curiosity. They are not the center of your decision making. So I think when I say be more curious, I think centering caste, gender, sexuality in every aspect of your life would really make a massive difference. And in the previous panel also, whatever was spoken about marriage, about policies, laws, we must keep in mind that we live in a country where the Manusmriti is upheld in every court of law. So whether it is someone from a marginalized caste or a marginalized tribe or someone from the LGBTQIA community, they will be looked at from a very Brahminical gaze, right? This gaze applies to law, this gaze applies to corporate world, capitalism, everything. If you really want to learn something, or if you really want to sort of start going beyond just awareness or beyond just DEI events like this, I would highly recommend all of you go back home today and just read the Manusmriti, because you will understand how problematic and to what depths we are in and how backward we are as a society, because everything about caste and gender is linked to that one book. Everything. And you will find all of the answers, all of the solutions if you read that one book. That's it. Yeah.